Hello everyone, this is part 20 of What If Naruto Was a One-of-a-Kind Genius, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. The hidden leaf once more again. Naruto did not feel anything when seeing the village. There wasn't a sense of happiness, a sense of calmness or just relief that they had made it after a long slow distance of traveling from the other nations that were not in the elemental nations. The same could not be said about the two on his right hand. Both his mother and Yugao appeared overjoyed about finally returning to what they termed as home. Well, it can be called home because this is where they lived. Sasuke had nothing on his expression to say he was happy to be back. Perhaps the events of the past years had been much more important to him than anything. Naruto could say his mother was also important. He could, but he would not. It wasn't his problem, he didn't have butt-in on personal things. Kushina breathed in the air from the Hokage monument and smiled in content with her eyes closed. She was finally back home, after 3 long years in the wilderness. There had been no one she knew, just her little group along with Itachi for the first 2 years. Missing home aside, the time away had been nice. They had created something of a small family. Every night they ate dinner together. It had been a rule she had enforced. She would have been willing to drag everyone else towards the dining room if they chose not to obey, with Itachi included. It really feels nice to be back home, Kushina said with a smile. It doesn't appear to have changed though. She had thought maybe there would have been changes, but there was nothing. It wasn't a bad thing either way. It really feels good, Yugao agreed. I wonder what will be waiting for us now, but right now, I just want to go and see my friends. It has been so long since I last saw them. Since I am not a kunoichi now, I don't have to report to the Hokage. I'll see you guys later. She was still going to follow him around. No. Sasuke shook his head. She was merely going to be with Naruto's mother. He doubted she would even think of going back to where she once lived. She had forged a good relationship with the Uzumaki. It was reasonable to assume that she would wish to live with them. It was just a thought, one that didn't reflect on the expressionless mask on his face. Make sure you do come later, we have to talk about living arrangements, Kushina said to Yugao. The former Anbu nodded before disappearing into thin air. Naruto didn't even want to think about where this was going. Right now, he just wanted to rest. It was still early morning, he could still see the day later on, there was nothing that he was going to miss anyway. Let us go to the Hokage Tower and report of our return before any more plans come, Naruto said. It was best to do so. He didn't want to have to scare Anbu away in their attempts to force him towards the presence of the leader. You're awfully observant of rules when it is convenient, Sasuke commented idly. Naruto didn't care about rules, he worked things his way. However, when it was convenient, he went all his way to follow them. Rules have a time for application. If it doesn't work for me, I won't have to follow it, Naruto said with a shrug. Sasuke merely shook his head. His expressionless face returned to full force as he spoke once more again. Let us walk there, the Uchiha said forcefully. I want to see how they react in our presence. I want to see if this village is really worth everything that my brother gave for it. You can do as you like, Bu, Naruto was sent off by his mother. Do something for Sasuke for once, Naruto. He has always done everything you say, and if it were you asking, you would have forced him to follow. Be fair, Kushina said sternly. Naruto's expression did not even twitch. You can go. I will send a clone to walk with you. I want to get over whatever nonsense is waiting for me there before resting. We have hardly rested in the past week, and in the next, we will be busy once again. Acceptable, Sasuke said. If there are problems, you will take the blame. Naruto just created a clone and watched it disappear with the Uchiha. Maybe I am a little interested in seeing how they will react in my presence. Well, the clone will share the memories once it dispels. I thought you would be, Kushina said with a smile. She really hoped that it would be positive, as it was positive when they left. She wanted Naruto's thoughts about the villages to change. If that changed, she knew that her Naruto would become a different person. We are going to continue living in this village, no matter what, so we have to learn to understand it. We can't just ignore it. If we do that, we won't be living. You never really tried to understand them, somewhat understandable, and I cannot blame you for it, but things have changed now. You are no longer that child, and they no longer act in the same way as they used to it. We must all grow. It was fundamental in a person's life to grow. Naruto understood that. He had grown, but growth came in different ways. Naruto was unique, he would grow differently and he would see things differently. He was not going to force himself to like anything that didn't do it for him. We just returned, there is time. Naruto was only willing to say that before disappearing along with his mother. Hokage office. Tsunade stared at the two people who had just appeared in her office. A couple of seconds ago, she had been informed by her Anbu that they had returned to the village. Of course it wasn't just the two, there were two more others that were not present. The other was strolling through the village streets with what she now thought was the clone of Naruto. She stared at the blonde for a long minute or so. He really looked different from the picture she had with her. She wasn't staring at a teenage face, but a mature man's face. His body was also grown, he could pass as Kushina's man. There were two things that stood out the most though, the look on his eyes and the feeling that he gave off. The feeling gave her the creeps. Kushina could not possibly be ignorant of it. It wasn't anything malicious or just pure evil, it was just that feeling of danger. There were certain people that gave you the feeling that they were not the kind to be messed with. This teenager was one who gave off that feeling. What can I do for you? Tsunade asked the two, in a flat tone. Before Naruto could say something that would piss off the Hokage, Kushina was quick to speak. It's nice to see you again, Tsunade, the Uzumaki said with a small smile. There is no need for such a tone, we are family after all. Tsunade snorted. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this, not Tsunade's snort, but his mother's statement. I hadn't given it much of a thought, but Mito is your grandmother. You do have some Uzumaki B in you. I doubt it counts as something, but it doesn't take away that you do have it. Someone with the Uzumaki B was to be considered important. The dream to restore the clan was still alive and he would not perish in this world without forming something to bring about a start to the restoration of the clan. The only part that would make you say that is Mito, Tsunade said in a blank tone, staring at Kushina. She had obviously ignored Naruto's remark. If she had done it to get a reaction from the blonde, she did not get it. Little as it is, it doesn't change the fact. Nothing is much more important than B, Kushina responded calmly, not the least fazed by the Hokage's stare. Tsunade wasn't the only one in the room with a strong personality. Tsunade stared at Kushina for a few more moments before smiling slightly. That aside, it is good to see you again. It has been quite long since I last saw you, the woman said in a different tone. Too long, Kushina said with a nod. She could not forget. She had encounters with the woman. Mito was her grandmother after all. She had spent a lot time with the wife of Hashirama, a lot of time in her deathbed as she was being prepared to take over the duties of holding the Kyuubi. She had done so, and now the responsibility had been passed down to her son. Thanks to that masked man and Minato. She did not hate Minato for it. He took the best decision for both Naruto and the village. Well, she could say it hadn't worked well for Naruto, but for the village, it had worked. The village was saved but Naruto had become miserable. He could have been a much more bubbly person who took after her had it not been for the Kyuubi being sealed inside of her. That was just hopeful thinking though. The past was the past. This was the present and they were building towards a better future. People could say what they wanted to say, but the past had made them stronger as a family. This must be Naruto, Tsunade said, turning her attention towards the blonde once again. I read your letters, very vague, I had to depend on Shikaku to interpret. I want a more detailed report on your abilities and Sasuke's. I want to know everything. That cannot be done, Naruto said in a flat tone. Shinobi have their secrets and it doesn't matter if you're a Kage or not, but I will not divulge my abilities to you, especially when I am not obligated to do so. Sasuke walked into the room at that moment but Naruto just continued. What you need to know is that we both are capable shinobis. Jiraiya was the next to appear. Obligated. Tsunade mused. As far as I am concerned, I am your Kage and you are just a mere genin. Do you really think that you can refuse my orders? I was merely playing genin to indulge the Sandaime Hokage, Naruto said calmly. I am a former Anbu. Rankings don't really matter to me either way. Let me put this in a way you will understand. If I am not convinced of your skills, I won't allow you to do higher ranked missions. You will do C and D ranked missions. I was informed that you were given the Senju compound. Taking care of it will require funds, and if you aren't getting enough pay, you won't be able to take care of anything. My survival doesn't depend on shinobi pay. There are many ways to make money, but I do see your point. Naruto paused when he got a look from his mother. Nevertheless, I do not wish to form a troubling relationship with the kage of this village. Arrange a match with anyone you like and I will fight them. That should satisfy you, right? Acceptable, Tsunade said. Between the two of you, who is stronger? Last time I checked, Naruto was way stronger than Sasuke, but a lot can change, Jiraiya asked with narrowed eyes. He could not tell just by looking at him, but what was certain was that both had become powerful, and in Naruto's case, much more dangerous. Who knows? Naruto responded with a shrug of his shoulders. I'd like to know, Sasuke said. Honestly, I cannot stand being called a genin, and I'm sure the others have grown in ranks by now. Over the past year, we have trained together and sparred, but never fought seriously. That can be arranged, Tsunade said with a smile. Any objections? Naruto said nothing. Excellent, Tsunade. Tomorrow morning. 11 a.m. sharp, be at Training Ground 7, Naruto, you're a former Anbu and your performance at the Chunin exams impressed many. Both Jiraiya and Kakashi have sung praised about your strength. If you impress me enough, I will give you the Jonin vest because you have done a number of A-ranked and an S-rank mission that qualifies you to become Jonin. As for you Sasuke, if you impress me, you can gain special Jonin until you complete the number of missions required to become a full Jonin, the Godime stated. Sasuke seemed to smile at this, but Naruto's expression remained the same, slightly bored and a lack of other emotions. Both of you are dismissed, we will talk after your match, especially you Naruto, there is a lot that must be discussed. I assume it has something to do with Suna, the blonde said, to which the Godime nodded. I'm going home, Sasuke said to both Kushina and Naruto before disappearing into nothingness. Kushina turned to her son. I know you want to rest, so go rest at the compound, I want to clean our home first and I have to make a few stops. Naruto stared at his mother for a few moments before nodding. He disappeared in a flash of black. Well, Jiraiya, Hokage-sama, I will see you tomorrow, Kushina said with a smile on her face before turning around to leave. Jiraiya watched the Uzumaki disappear before speaking to Tsunade. I wanted to fight Naruto, but I think this will be a good plan to see how both will perform. If we are to do by Naruto's reports, it is bound to be something special. If they don't hold back, Tsunade said strongly. I know they won't show everything, but Sasuke has always been in Naruto's shadow. He is an Uchiha and that comes with pride, he won't be satisfied to just fall back in defeat. He will give it the best he can. I'm hoping for that, Tsunade said with a sigh. If they both stay grounded, they can become our greatest assets, if there are truths to the reports to the information Naruto was sending us. Uchiha compound. Mikoto smiled brightly when her son walked in front of her. Finally, she was seeing him after 3 long years. She had been in contact with him, once every 6 months, but she had never seen him. The communication was all written, nothing verbal. So to be able to see, hear and touch him made her feel very happy. She would be able to experience all the joy of communicating with her son. Sasuke, Mikoto said holding out her hands for a hug. The teenager walked up to his mother. He was glad no one was watching when his mother wrapped him up in a tight hug that left him slightly embarrassed. Mother, Sasuke still managed to respond with a small smile. Mikoto let go of Sasuke and stared at his figure. He had truly grown. She could no longer call him Sasu-chan. It was something else and he felt strong. This was her youngest son, and the hope of her clan. For now, her joy. You have truly grown, dear, she said. Much more than I had anticipated, but this is all good. Keep growing like this and in a couple of years you're the man of this house, she said smiling. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Wasn't he man enough? He had grown and was all powerful. He wasn't the same kid he was when he left the village. Well, she was his mother. But Sasuke was certain that she would not say the same about Naruto. Seeing him, she would say that he had become a real man. The Uchiha shook his head to clear those thoughts. I have been training hard and eating healthy over the past years. Healthy diet and healthy training makes you grow quick and stronger, Sasuke said. Well, that is what Kushina and his brother had said anyway. He could not prove them wrong. I knew you'd be in safe hands with Kushina, the woman said smiling. If Sasuke had grown like this, then what had become of Naruto? She licked her lips in thought. She really could not wait to see him. She would go to see him now. She could not wait. She had been waiting for far too long. Mother, Sasuke started a sad tone. About Itachi. Mikoto shook her head. It is okay, Sasuke. I understand, there was nothing that could be done anyway. It was going to happen. At least he allowed something good to come out of it. Don't feel any guilt, I don't blame you. Besides, it was your brother's wish, we have to accept it. 2 hours later, Senju compound. Naruto's eyes slowly opened, black eyes were staring back at him. He blinked. Had he been that out of it that he could allow someone to get this close to him? No. The security around the house gave him the assurance to leave his guard down as he rested. No one with the intentions to do harm should be able to enter the house. It was not guarded by the root Anbu. He could not risk having those people seen by Tsunade Anbu. It would raise a lot of difficult questions that he could not answer without getting in trouble with the law. It was safe to keep them away. That didn't mean that there was not one or two within the village playing civilian. Naruto focused on the eyes staring at him. He could not forget them. It was Mikoto. She was lying on his bed, facing him. It was a rather unique situation. The only other woman he has found himself sharing a bed with was his mother, but that was long ago when he was still younger. He was curious though, what was she doing? Mikoto, the blonde acknowledged the woman's presence. Mikoto smiled brightly. The Naruto I know is very dignified that he treats himself as royalty. He wouldn't have gotten in bed with his day clothes. Were you that tired? Yes, Naruto said with a small nod. I have not been able to sleep in the past days as I have been preparing for my return. You were truly tired then, but if I had been an enemy, I would have killed you in your sleep, she said. If you were an enemy, you would have died the moment you stepped into the compound, Naruto responded flatly. Mikoto merely smiled at the response. Perhaps that was true. There could be a clone or a craw with a Sharingan watching the compound. She stared into the eyes of the blonde. It was a dull blue world that tried to suck her in. She blinked to break off the contact. Is life really that boring, dear? You could say that, Naruto said after a long minute of silence, but he didn't explain any further. What are you doing here? I would have come to your place to see you after I had rested enough. What do you think? Are you perhaps sad about Itachi? Naruto asked. For his mother, it has always been about comfort and nothing more. He had slept in the same bed as his mother to comfort her when she was sad. He could not think of any other reason than that. Mikoto laughed. It was a small innocent giggle. Despite everything, you really are innocent, she said. I know you are tired, but I can't help myself. Before Naruto could ask what was happening, Mikoto moved just inches closer before she suddenly got up and sat atop of him. Naruto faced her, his expression drawing a curious look. Mikoto just smiled as she placed both her hands on his covered chest. She leaned closer and whispered into his left ear. We are going to do something pleasant, don't try to fight, just allow me to please both of us, okay? And your mother must not know about this. The following day, Training Ground 7. Tsunade was tapping her fingers by now. It was not yet time but everyone had gathered already for the match between Naruto and Sasuke. The latter was already present, but she could not see Naruto. From what she has known so far about the blonde, he wasn't a tardy person and had a way about doing things. What is keeping him? Tsunade demanded impatiently. She turned to Kakashi. He didn't pick up any of your behavior, did he? The Jonin smiled a bit sheepishly. Of course not, Hokage same, he said. Influencing him like that is impossible. Your years away from the battlefield must have dulled your senses, Haim, Jiraiya said with some mild disappointment. Naruto has been here. He was here before Sasuke came. He acts in a dignified manner befitting nobles because he sees himself as a higher than other humans. In any case, he is sitting in the trees. Judging from everything, I assume he is meditating. Tsunade frowned at her inability to sense the blonde. She was only able to do so because Jiraiya had said so. I didn't notice him until a few moments ago. He hasn't been really trying to hide himself. I guess the fact that he is meditating is making it difficult to sense him, Kakashi weighed in a calm tone. The Jonin watched as Naruto jumped from the tree he had been sitting on. His landing on the ground was as calm as a gentle breeze. There was no sound whatsoever, not even dust picking up. He moved with grace as he moved to the center of the field where Sasuke was standing like a robot, head facing the ground. The blonde was wearing a long dark crimson coat that was closed off around his upper body, and parted below his waist. Its collars were short. It had a black Uzumaki symbol on the back. He was wearing dark blue shinobi pants and shinobi boots. Konoha's forehead protector was tied around his forehead, slightly hidden by his hair. It was different from Sasuke, who was carrying a long sword around his waist. Naruto had no visible weapon on him. There was a crowd, much more than what Naruto had anticipated. It was not a problem. There were Anbu watching, that was expected. He didn't expect members of the graduation group to be present. Word spread fast. And there was the old-grown Hinata. His eyes met with Ino's, but the blonde-haired Yamanaka responded with a blank stare. She looked away when Naruto's bored eyes lingered on her for a few moments. Tsunade took the chance to speak. Let me iron out a few things before you start. None of them are still Genin. Shikamaru, Neji, Lee and Hinata have all made Jonin, the rest of them are Chunin. Shino should get his promotion soon. If you fool around, you won't get your promotion. I wasn't planning on fooling around, Sasuke responded calmly, his eyes staring at Naruto. I know he won't fool around. He doesn't have time for jokes anyway. Naruto did not respond, he merely examined the Uchiha. Good, Tsunade said firmly. Begin, she said, folding her hands across her chest. In the blink of an eye, Sasuke blurred away from existence. The Uchiha flashed behind Naruto slightly above the ground, his body twisting with his right foot aiming at the back of the blonde's head. Naruto raised his right hand without even looking back at Sasuke. The hand reinforced by chakra blocked the kick. Within a second of Sasuke's kick into Naruto's hand, there was a sound of chirping birds as Sasuke charged a Chidori. Naruto appeared to take a step forward before disappearing out of view. He appeared a couple of feet away with his hand still in the air. He was now facing Sasuke. The Uchiha dispersed his jutsu as he landed on the ground. Interesting, Sasuke said. Normally, you make it a point of not moving in the few seconds of our sparring sessions. Well, I thought if I attacked like that you'd make movements. Your first mistake, Sasuke, Naruto said. That jutsu takes away your chakra, and against me, you know that in a battle of endurance, you will not win. If you recklessly use chakra, you will lose it, your ability to use your greatest card in the Sharingan, and I will break you. You think I don't know that? Sasuke asked rhetorically. I have been fighting with you for a long year. I should know that I cannot win in a battle of endurance. Besides, this isn't a fight of endurance. Although I'd hate to lose in front of these eyes, I have to showcase my skills to get that promotion. When Naruto said nothing in response, Sasuke took out his blade and began to charge towards Naruto head-on with his blade through the air. Naruto suddenly burst into crows. The black feathered birds flew a small distance away from Sasuke. They gathered around in a heap as Naruto formed once more again. He just stood there, watching Sasuke. It was not going anywhere because Naruto didn't seem to have the AP for engaging. The blonde was not the one to play around like this, especially since he knew him better. When it came to taijutsu, Naruto could predict him because he had formed a large part of his style. But of course with the evolution of his Sharingan he was able to mix it up. Yet, that didn't change the fact that the blonde had trained him and had trained with Itachi. He was very familiar with the Sharingan's ability and Sasuke had thought of a way to better the blonde, speed. With enough speed, and his Sharingan's ability to see into the future, he could get the better of the blonde, but in this battle, Naruto didn't want to engage. Sasuke's blade burst with lightning before he charged towards Naruto once again. This time around, Naruto also moved towards him, matching his speed. The Uchiha held out his right hand, and a kunai popped up. In a quick motion, he flung the kunai in incredible speed, straight towards Naruto's forehead. The blonde ducked under the kunai as he continued to charge towards Sasuke. Within a second, he was inches away from the Uchiha. Within a second, a Rasengan was formed on his right hand and charging towards Sasuke. The Uchiha blocked the strike with his sword. Naruto suddenly disappeared and Sasuke suddenly twisted around, his body falling backwards. His sword flicked into his left whilst his right held a hand seal. Kaiten, Fireball no Jutsu. As that was happening, Naruto had appeared in front of the jutsu, facing the other way. In response to the fireball charging towards his back, Naruto held out his right hand, Odama Rasengan. It also appeared in an instant and the blonde s it towards the oncoming jutsu without turning around to face it. The main purpose was to defend him from the fire-based jutsu. Sasuke flashed above the blonde. Birds chirping on the blade of his sword, Sasuke s it towards Naruto's chest. If it hit, it would be a fatal blow, but Sasuke was expecting Naruto to dodge. He was surprised when Naruto was only able to shift slightly and the blade pierced through his left shoulder. Sasuke didn't allow his surprise to get the best of him. He spun around in midair and a brutal kick onto Naruto's chest, sending the blonde crashing into the ground. Naruto didn't allow his body to hit the ground, he held out both his hands and folded his feet, crashing loudly with the mobile parts of his body. Sasuke flicked his blade into his left hand and formed a chidori whilst still in midair. He blurred towards the downed blonde, with intent to see him with his jutsu. Naruto reacted quickly by lifting up both his legs. He pushed his body into an upside position, only balancing himself with his hands. He was able to dodge Sasuke's jutsu nevertheless, and the Uchiha hit the ground in a loud boom. Before he could move, Naruto's legs s onto both his shoulders, and the blonde held the Uchiha in a hold, his legs locking around his neck. Without a second of thought, he let go of his hands, using Sasuke as balance, and his hands flashed towards Sasuke's head. Once he had grabbed it, he s the Uchiha into the ground. Naruto quickly let go of the Uchiha before making some distance. He frowned as he looked at his B shoulder. Sasuke suddenly flashed behind him. Naruto reacted quickly by shifting his upper body to the left when Sasuke's blade was thrust towards his back. It barely missed his body, but managed to see through his coat. When Naruto narrowed his eyes backwards, another Sasuke flashed above him, right moving blurring through the air as it moved towards his head. Wind burst, Naruto uttered. It was a simple jutsu that merely blasted everything within a certain distance away from him. There was no large scale of the jutsu, just this one used as a last defense in case he could not shield himself against physical attacks. This is boring, Sasuke said, standing a couple of feet away from Naruto with his hands folded across his chest. You're distracted. I certainly want to know by what, because there has never been anything that has seemed capable of distracting you. With the others, how can he say this is boring when we have hardly been able to see anything because they are moving too fast? Kiba more or less demanded. Perhaps he was feeling that the Uchiha was being smug. How was everything so far not impressive? It may not have had all the fireworks, but he would not go as far as to say it was boring. Because Naruto's mind is elsewhere, Hinata said in a calm, yet firm tone. In all my days training with him, I have never seen him like this. Sasuke should not have seen him and he shouldn't have gotten behind him at this stage. I have to say I am rather shocked, perhaps even puzzled. I never thought this would be possible. Shikamaru said nothing. He did have his own thoughts but he would not voice them. It was for certain that Naruto had his mind elsewhere. He still looked calm as he normally was. However, it was his fighting that gave it away. He wasn't being careless, it was just that people expected a lot better from him, and besides, Naruto had always shown to be superior to Sasuke. It must be something nice, Kakashi said with somewhat of a perverted eye smile. Jiraiya snorted, thinking of what the Jonin was suggesting. Naruto had never shown the slightest of interest in the opposite S. But if something did happen, then that could only be the thing that could confuse him. If he doesn't get serious, he can K the promotion goodbye, Tsunade said in a firm tone. Back with Naruto. Naruto shook his head, his expression never changing. I guess you're right. I have come to experience something unique, and it has confused me slightly. I just can't seem to get the experience out of my head, the blonde stated. Mikoto would certainly be pleased that she had left this kind of a mark on him, but it was not one that Naruto wanted. Well, it was only a matter of time before he could wrap his head around the experience. For now, he could just forget it and focus on Sasuke. Sasuke raised an eyebrow in curiosity. That is a surprise, he said. His mother had returned home excessively excited, tired even. And she had been coming back from seeing the blonde. Sasuke refused to think that his mother has something to do with Naruto's current state of mind. I wonder, he shook his head and stopped talking. Naruto held out his right hand. It's about time we get this over with. I have matters to discuss with the Godime Hokage. About an hour later, Hokage office. Naruto was sitting in the office with both Jiraiya and Tsunade watching him carefully, well, more like analyzing him. He had yet to do something special to warrant this, but he guessed if the woman read his files, she would be careful in dealing with him. The Toad Sage had dealt with him in numerous occasions, so it was another debate. The Godime Hokage could not really understand what made the blonde so special. Sure, he was a Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi and the son of the late Minato Namikaze, but he hardly represented any of that. The fact that he was a Jinchuriki had gone unnoticed during his fight with Sasuke, which was unusual for a Jinchuriki. Perhaps it was because not everyone knew about it. However, as far as she was concerned, everyone who dealt with Naruto personally knew about it, and he wasn't the sort of person who would hide what he was carrying in fear of being hated by his peers. Of course, the shinobi populace knew about it. How could they not? The blonde Hokage sighed as she leaned against her chair. First, I would like to thank you for getting rid of Danzo, the woman said in a tone of authority. The old man should have done it long ago, but he lacked the backbone to do so and instead allowed that treacherous man to continue living. Naruto could debate that, with good factual and tangible evidence to back his argument. The Sandaime he had known was a cunning and manipulative old geezer who had no problems in trying to attach strings on anyone as long as it would benefit Konoha. He could put the argument, but Naruto did not. However, should you do something like that without being given the order, you will face severe punishment in either death by or exile from this village, Tsunade added in the same tone as before. The latter would do since you're a Jinchuriki. Trying to you would result in us freeing the Kyuubi. That was something she did not wish to do. Konoha had seen the Bayou once and witnessed its power firsthand. Another appearance would surely cripple the village. The village has been receiving heavy blows in the past, and another one in the form of the Kyuubi would leave it heavily damaged to the point where even Suna could take it down. I have no such plans, Naruto said calmly. He could have told the Godime Hokage that working up such meaningless threats to him would not work. Yes, if she wanted him to behave, she had to come up with something better, not such a blunt threat that failed to shake his fears. Nevertheless, Naruto chose against voicing his thoughts once more again. It would be troublesome to start a fight with the woman. A relationship with the Sandaime was forged based on mutual benefits. As long as he got what he wanted and Tsunade got what she wanted, they should all be happy, and he should have no problems in keeping the facade of an obedient shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. He wasn't expecting things to go smoothly. There would be disagreements, and he was sure by the time he leaves this place, there would be one already. This was all just a greeting. I hope so, Tsunade said with narrowed eyes. We have made an agreement with Sunagakure on a new way forward to ensure that what happened in the past doesn't happen again. Your marriage with Temari will still go ahead, but this time, there will be no loopholes to get out of it. Whether you will it or not, you will get married to her. When you turn 18, she will move into this village. Naruto's expression remained the same, slightly bored, lacking any real emotion on it. It made Tsunade twitch slightly, but she did not comment on it. Jiraiya spoke for the first time. I guess this is something you expected. The Toad Sage said because of Naruto's lack of surprise in the news and the fact that Tsunade was forcing him to do it. He was sure if the blonde had other thoughts, he would have put on an argument. After all, the Naruto he knew didn't dance to anyone's tune, unless it was his mother's or the Sandaime's. It was a reasonable path I saw as occurring, Naruto said. Besides, keeping Temari in this village means that Gaara will not do anything stupid or allow his council to plot something behind his desk when he knows his sister, he cares deeply for, is in my hands. Tsunade narrowed her eyes sharply. I hadn't mentioned that Gaara was the new Kazekage. Your statement suggests that you know, and that isn't something that has been made public, the blonde Hokage said. I thought you would have more of a less brutal thought about the issue given your past relationship with those siblings. A matter of the past, Naruto said with an indifferent shrug. How do you know? Any rational mind would assume the same, Naruto said flatly. And you just confirmed that I am right. Besides, my statement didn't really say Gaara is the new Kage. I merely said he won't do anything stupid and won't allow his council to do anything stupid. Gaara is Temari's brother and his council, because he is a Suna shinobi. It all depends on a matter of interpretation. Not the most important detail, however. The blonde paused for a moment as he changed the subject. Is there anything else? The Akatsuki, Jiraiya said. If he was expecting Naruto to add something, he was disappointed. The blonde did not. I'm listening, that was Naruto's response. This is a matter that affects Konoha's security, and we want your cooperation. You must know that they are after Jinchurikis and we can't let them get them when we don't know what they are planning. Resistance could leave this village open to attack from the organization, Tsunade said. She didn't have to add anything further about the matter for Naruto to understand what she had left unsaid. I will give you what I know, Naruto responded calmly. But I have most things covered. The blonde paused. I want to be given the same pass as Jiraiya. Tsunade stared for a moment before bursting into laughter. Once she was done with her laughing, she said, no, it was a firm no. You're not really someone we trust. If we trust you enough, then maybe we can think of something. I was merely making the suggestion to make things easy for you, Naruto said as he stood up. Soon enough, you will reconsider. For now, I can let it slide. He disappeared from the office. That was a rather measured display, Jiraiya muttered as Shikaku appeared from the shadows. But a smart move, the Jonin commander stated calmly. He speaks less, much more measured. This is going to be troublesome. Well, at least there is no thought of him leaving this village. If he knows the threat of the Akatsuki, he won't risk leaving this village because it offers him protection and above all else, makes his mother happy. What is your judgment then? Tsunade asked. Nothing to worry about, for now at least, the Nara said. He will probably mind his own business and try to stay away from anything troubling. But since he asked for the same pass of that of a Sannin, I imagine he is going to be coming and going out of the leaf regularly. That means he has connections outside, or at least places he wants to see to something. Without doubt it is nothing that will threaten Konoha, what it is remains the curious puzzle. Ramen stand. Kakashi was sitting with Naruto at the ramen stand, both having meals. It was just after a few minutes after the blonde left the Hokage's office. It has been long since we last ate here, Kakashi said quietly. I am much more interested in what has been a distraction to you, the Jonin said with a knowing smile. Yugao had whispered something into his ear after he had pressed for details. She had been with the blonde for the past years, she had to know something. Sasuke didn't know and wouldn't have told him even if he knew. Asking Kushina was out of the question, so Yugao had been the only option. I was distracted but not anymore, the blonde said calmly. Are you going to tell me? Naruto didn't say anything. Well, Kakashi was best suited for this. He definitely could not go to his mother, but Mikoto had told him not to say anything to anyone. He had said he would not, perhaps in the middle of his confusions over the emotions he felt. It had certainly been a puzzling experience that left him with emotions he had never thought he would feel, and an experience he didn't think was quite possible. It had happened, nevertheless. Whether it was good or bad was an argument that he was afraid to have. He didn't want to admit that he had enjoyed it, that the feeling had been pure ecstasy. Naruto cleared his thoughts without letting it show that he had allowed himself to drift away into his thoughts. There is nothing to tell, Kakashi. Oh, come on, Kakashi pouted. Does it have anything to do with Mikoto-san? Well, Yugao had suggested it may have to do with something with her and she had said the woman had been with Naruto alone yesterday at the Senju compound for some time and had left looking quite bubbly. How did Yugao know? She had been watching because she had been curious. Nothing was certain, but the hint was there. According to the former Anbu, Naruto had been perfectly fine after she left his presence. Something had happened during the day and all clues pointed at the Senju compound. Naruto didn't show any outward reaction to the mention of Mikoto's name, which left Kakashi quite disappointed because he had been expecting something. Even if there had been a slight twitch, he would have gotten an answer. Well, so much for trying to read the blonde Uzumaki. How well is your control over the Mangekyo Sharingan now? Naruto asked after a few moments of silence. What? We are not going to talk about how things have been in the past years and how much you have missed me? Kakashi asked. I didn't say I miss you, Kakashi. What is really there to miss? Who knows? Kakashi responded with a shrug of his shoulders. If you did not, we wouldn't be sitting here. Nothing further was said as Mikoto's voice rung behind the two men. She was holding an umbrella, a warm smile on her lips, eyes slightly closed as not to show too much. Kakashi-san, she greeted the copy nin, still smiling. The Sharingan user smiled as he acknowledged the woman. Can I steal Naruto? Mikoto asked a bit too sweetly. Our conversation wasn't going anywhere, Kakashi said. Though, he was certain he wasn't being given an option. Naruto, we are meeting later on at around 7 p.m. for barbecue. Be there, your peers will also be there, and Sasuke as well. Naruto merely nodded and got up from his stool. He turned to face Mikoto who hadn't moved. Where is your smile? The woman asked quietly before shaking her head. Hold this, will you? She said, handing Naruto the umbrella. She moved closer to him, and took a direction away from the ramen stand. Kakashi watched the two walking away side by side, under the shade of a single umbrella, almost like a couple. He smiled. What would Jiraiya say about that? He would certainly make something out of it, yes, a great masterpiece of literature. Senju compound. Naruto's expressionless mask stared at the half-woman who was sitting atop of him. He was allowing himself to be led, allowing the woman to do as she pleased with him, simply because he was curious. His mother had said he needed to live, not just to survive. This was what adults did. If he ended up getting married, this would be what he would be doing. It would be a lie if he said he was not pleased. Curiosity was becoming an intoxicating pleasure. He had never looked at a human like this before. He had never caressed a human so gently, allowing the emotions inside of him to burst up. I had a feeling that when you come back you'd be like this, Mikoto said, as she rested her head on Naruto's chest. Like this. Your face, Mikoto said. You spent most of your childhood working out things, difficult things, especially with the Sandaime. There was always a puzzle that had to be solved and that made your otherwise boring life a little entertaining. Whether you want to admit it or not, you take your thrills in being mentally challenged. As things stand now, there is no one to challenge you. The Sandaime is Tsunade doesn't play that kind of a game and Orochimaru is somewhat of an oddball, but he can be predictable because of his nature. Nevertheless, you are not being challenged, there is no puzzle, and that makes your life boring. Everything else cannot entertain you. Well, yesterday you smiled in content after I was done with you, yet the background in your eyes never really changed. Naruto was silent. His thoughts were silent as well. His hands moved automatically and wrapped around Mikoto's shoulders in a gentle manner. It gave him some sort of a satisfaction that he could not quite explain. Yet, this was all just a play, a secret play that could not come out to the light. It was real, yet not real. You are much like Itachi in your attempt to understand me, Naruto responded. He did warn me that it would prove to be detrimental should I allow it to get best of me. It depends, but I don't want you to be bored with your life. You have grown now, you simply cannot be satisfied with just being with her. Nothing can replace the moments with your mother, but someone or your mental needs a few things to keep the light going or you will go out of your way to make things interesting. I doubt you'd do anything risky. Mikoto paused, her left hand soothing over Naruto's chest. Your heartbeat is calm, and your body is warm, she mumbled. Do you think I am forcing you to do something bad? I didn't give you a chance and I knew you'd never refuse me. Do you think I am a selfish woman who is taking advantage of your soft spot for me and has already taken away your innocence? What do you call this? There was a reason he was not answering her question, and that was because she was wrong. She was not forcing him to do anything. He was indulging this because he wanted to do it. He was enjoying what she was doing to him. An illicit affair, Mikoto smiled. I am older than your mother, yet I'm sleeping with you. It will be like a betrayal to Kushina, which is why she must never know, Sasuke especially. A little voice says I am a predator, but, I don't know, it has been long since I have been in this embrace, since I allowed my urges to get the best of me, but this does not feel wrong. Do you think it's wrong, Naruto? About 2 hours later, has your life become that peaceful that you'd allow yourself to be distracted like that? Sasuke asked as he walked towards the Naruto, who was sitting in a meditative position just behind his house. There were Anbu watching, you know they might not have better opinion of you, and you certainly didn't impress the Hokage. Naruto opened just one eye for a moment before closing it. Why couldn't people just allow him to rest in peace? He wanted to get his thoughts right. It was something though, wasn't it? Sasuke was looking at him so stern-faced, reprimanding him for making careless mistakes. A reversal of roles. It was his role to get the Uchiha in line and now he was the one at the receiving end of it. Well, Sasuke heavily depended on him to think. If he screwed up things, he screwed up things for both of them. But screwing up things was not a subject Naruto had studied. He didn't go around making mistakes, foolish mistakes to be precise. He wasn't perfect, so every now and then he would make a mistake, but not foolish ones. Where is this piece you speak of, Sasuke? Naruto said. Then, why were you distracted? Sasuke demanded strongly, instinctively, the Sharingan activated to spot any twitch in Naruto's body language. He wanted to see if the blonde would tell the truth or not. Normal eyes would not be able to spot it if the blonde does react, he normally does, but there were those rare moments. Personal matters, Naruto responded calmly. I have managed to resolve it though. You don't need to know and I hope you never know. He wouldn't go as far to ridiculously say he felt guilty about everything. He could have corrected Mikoto and told her that he could have refused her if he wanted to. She was not the one who could make him do anything despite her importance, she did not have that kind of a hold on him, but he had allowed her to think that way. Yes, she did understand him much better, but she did not know what was happening inside his head. He had allowed her to do what she wanted because he was honestly curious. He wanted to see if Yugao had been right. She had been right. Perhaps he should reward her for it. Still, the experience appeared to be much more than he had expected. Well, he could not have known because he only had an idea, but the actual experience wasn't something that words could have explained it to him perfectly. Some things were not for words, but for the eyes and the emotions to be able to get it. I hope you have, Sasuke said with a warning look. Perhaps having many tools at your disposal is having a bad influence on you. Back then, you had to do everything on your own, while fighting your battles. However, these days, you don't have to do anything, they do it for you. Is this why you always see a bored figure? Everything has become easy, there is no challenge, nothing to excite me, it isn't a bad thing having tools, but there is this. Naruto shook his head. What do you want, Sasuke? We didn't discuss what you'd be doing once you return to the village. I'm going to be doing missions and looking after my clan from now on, but there are enemies that we must erase, Sasuke stated. Enemies? Yes, we do have. Patience is virtue. If you become impatient, you will move at the wrong moment and everything you have planned will be destroyed within a second. One careless move and the enemy will you in the back, not just the enemy, but even people you trust. This is the shinobi world, anything is possible, Naruto said. Yugao for example. The Sandaime pushed her to me so that she could spy on me, but now things have changed. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. He didn't know about that little information. But if Naruto knew about it, why did he keep her close? Why is she still around? My mother seems to like her and her mission D with the Sandaime Hokage. I have studied her over the past years and she seems to genuinely see us as family. I have my reservations about that thought, but that is beside the point, Naruto explained lightly. Focus on your clan, Sasuke. I will tell you when we are ready to tear apart our enemies. If you had disappointed me I would say don't disappoint, but you have not. How do we stand with the Hokage? To be able to move freely within the village we need her too, Sasuke trailed off when he sensed someone. You have a guest. We will continue this discussion later, but I am curious to hear what the Hyuga wants to say to you. Sasuke didn't leave, he just stood there as Hinata made her way towards them. The Hyuga had grown, the Uchiha was able to acknowledge that and her eyes spoke of someone who had experienced quite a lot, but more importantly they were not the eyes of the innocent little girl he had known back then as a member of Team 7. The Uchiha smiled. Well, someone has grown, he said. Hinata smiled at Sasuke. You have matured as well, Sasuke. What are you doing here, Hinata? Naruto asked without looking at the girl. Perhaps it would have been said the question was rude when being addressed as they hadn't spoken in quite some time, but Hinata knew why Naruto was asking the question. She had not expected it, but she understood why he was asking. She did remember her last conversation with him after all. I know what I said the other day, and I am sure that my father will not be happy if he learns that I was here, Hinata said. This is the only chance I will get to speak to you today. I'm sure from tomorrow you'll be a busy person. Later on, Ino will probably seek after you. I would rather not have any petty talks with your father, not that I can't handle it, but for now, I do not need it, Naruto responded calmly. I said my father will not be happy, but that doesn't mean he can actually do something about it. As I am now, he doesn't get to tell me who my friends are, Hinata said a bit firmly. I have a request. Naruto finally looked at the Hyuga. He stared into her eyes. You have lost some of your innocence that made me value you above wretched humans. Well, I did expect this world to taint you, but you have not become one of this world, the blonde said. What is the request? I want you to talk to Neji, Hinata said. He is perhaps the strongest, and still remains a clan prodigy, but if he is to remain by my side, he must understand certain things and be a lot stronger. I just need you to take him under your wing for a little while. What do I gain by doing that? An ally, Hinata said. Neji is smart and he is certainly much more level-headed than Sasuke, no offense meant, the girl said with a look at the Uchiha. When you become clan head, you will support Sasuke when I say support him, regardless. I might need a few favors every now and then, Naruto said to Hinata. Tomorrow, 5 p.m., you know the spot. Later, Naruto, Ino called the blonde Uzumaki as he was walking away from the restaurant they'd been in with what she called friends. The night was no longer young, the streets were slightly brightened with the night lights. It was just around this section though. This place was mostly crowded with people because a few shops were located around here. It had its name. A walk away from here, and the dark alleys would come to life. Naruto stopped moving, but did not turn around as he spoke. You did not speak to me throughout the whole night. Even though everyone engaged both and Sasuke, the blonde paused as the blonde Yamanaka stopped just an inch away from his back. I thought perhaps I was no longer your Black Knight. At the term, Ino nearly smiled. Nearly. She had used that to call him in their younger days. Black had fitted him because he had been a gloomy person. Well, now it didn't fit, perhaps her Crimson Knight would do. Ino shook her head, she was thinking too far off. Ino held out her hands, she wanted to wrap them around the blonde, she hesitated because she didn't know how he would react. They had not parted in good terms, and even though he had written to her, she had not responded to his letter. It was just one, with a few training tips. She had not responded because she had been angry with him for leaving her behind. Even so, she had missed him. She had dearly missed him, but she was still mad at him. The mixture of the strong emotions that made her emotional. After a long moment, Ino wrapped her hands around Naruto, burying her face on his back. Her hold on him wasn't gentle, it was tight. She didn't want him to go. She didn't want him to leave her alone. He had left her, and she had been miserable. How many nights had she spent thinking about the moments they had spent together? There had been times she wanted to shout at him for being stupid. Yes, she had thought when he does return, she would some senses and teach him how to treat a woman, but she didn't have that energy now, she just wanted to hold on to him so that he doesn't leave her again. He was her Crimson Knight after all. She wanted to tell him that she was both angry and happy that he was back, but the words failed to leave her lips. Ino wanted to tell him that she had received his letter and had trained as hard as she could with the help of Hinata. She wanted to proudly tell him that she had become a kunoichi, someone who could be useful to him. But the words could not come out. She just held on to him. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.